All right, guys, welcome. The live stream should be starting up right now. Hope you guys had a good Monday in NBA DFS. And for me, it was solid. It could have been takedown season if that Blazers game would have stayed competitive, but the Mavs had to blow them out. So it was just, min cash day for me in GPPs. But yeah, hoping to have a solid night here. We have an 8-game slate. Again, I really like the size of the slates this week. Pretty even. I think we have a 4-game slate on Thursday, which is not terrible, and then a 10-gamer on Friday. But prefer these 7-8-game slates to the 13-game 3-game slates, right? But yeah, guys, if you're just coming in, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Again, I'll be doing YouTube live streams as well as videos every day. This will be Q&A style, so leave questions in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. Again, I'll be live for 30 minutes. As far as news goes, obviously things can change, but we're still waiting on a decent amount of stuff. If you take a look at Underdog, we can scroll over. They usually tweet out like the big news that we are waiting for, and I think it's down here, yeah. So we have Brad Beal questionable. LeBron, I fully expect him to play. Evan Mobley questionable. He got cleared from the protocols, but we don't know if he's going to play or not. I don't expect Ingram to play. He's doubtful. Valanciunas, I do expect to play. Wiggins, I expect to play. Pascal Siakam is probable. The only downside is, why is he only a center on Draftkings? That makes no sense. He's just whatever. He should have the power forward eligibility. That's a little bit annoying. Aaron Gordon, questionable, and Josh Hart, questionable. Josh Hart's pretty significant because if he misses, obviously that Pelicans value is going to look pretty good. I'm going to some Thunder guys in the health and safety protocols, so I'm curious to see what the Thunder do with the starting lineup because they are a team that I'm a little bit more interested in now than I was earlier in the day. But yeah, let's see if we have some of these Vegas odds out for the games tonight. Let's see. Yeah, so we have Bucks and Magic. It's I think started at like a 12-point spread. It's up to 14.5. I still think the Bucks cover. I think they blow them out. The 76ers and Raptors game is a 215.5 over under. The 76ers are 6-point favorites. Wizards and Heat. Again, we're waiting on Beal news. 6.5-point favorites. The Heat are 209 over under. Cavs and Pelicans at 212.5 over under. The Cavs, are 3.5-point favorites. We did get news earlier in the day that Garland is in the health and safety protocols. Lakers and Rockets. I believe this is the highest total. Yeah, 225.5 over under. Lakers 5.5-point favorites. Knicks and T-Wolves at 211 over under. Knicks are 4.5-point favorites. We do have Pat Beverly playing, possibly Naz Reid back as well. Nuggets and Warriors. This one should be a fun one to watch. Hope it stays competitive. 217.5 over under. Warriors 7.5-point favorites, and the Thunder Kings at 224 over under. The Kings 5.5-point favorites. So, guys, leave some questions in the chat. Again, if you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button. Really appreciate that. And let's do it. Cam Reddish trolled us. Yeah, he did. I saw did he go for a 50 bomb? That game in general, everyone in that game, I think just smashed, right? You had the whole starting five for the Bulls, or the main three, and Vooch, DeRozan, Levine, they all just went off. And that game just went crazy. What do you think of this lineup? I don't see a lineup, Tom. Hampton, Temple, Noel, Jerome, or Jordan McLaughlin. Okay, so yeah, with Patrick Beverly back, that definitely is a little bit of a downgrade to those Timberwolves guards. I'm curious to see what they do with the starting lineup. I think I would still lean Noel over McLaughlin of the two because he had been playing more minutes before that last game. And then it's hard to say right now, right? Because with a guy like Garrett Temple, I think he makes for a very safe value if Josh Hart's out because we might see 35 plus minutes from him. So a little bit hard to say right now, but I think, Temple or Noel is where I'm eyeing there. And if you do think the Magic game blows out, then Hampton, I think, is a guy you can look to. Temple, Noel, or another guard under 4K. Yeah, again, so kind of just went over that. It's going to come down to Josh Hart for me right now. Jalen Noel had been in the rotation before, and he had a really nice game last game. Now, again, we do have Patrick Beverly back, and they kind of played the same position, so I don't think we get 35 minutes from Noel, but he is a guy that can provide that scoring punch and that kind of need it with, the main three guys out for Minnesota. So, again, it's going to come down to Josh Hart news. I'll say Noel right now, but if Hart gets ruled out, then I think I feel a little bit more comfortable with Temple because I think I feel more secure about his minutes. Do you think Ty Jerome will play? He's not in the health and safety protocols, right? Yeah, they recalled him. I think he'll be in the rotation. The Thunder are a team that look a little bit more appealing now with some guys put in the health and safety protocols, right? So Shea with Giddey out, going to have to do a little bit more offensively. And then I'm really curious to see what they do with the starting lineup. Like, we have Favors and Robinson Earl out, so does Mike Muscala start the 5? Like, he's really their only other big they have. So, like, Mike Muscala could become a potential value. We have a guy like Kenrich Williams that possibly picks up the start here. So, the Thunder, again, I want to see what they do with the starting lineup. It's a little bit tricky because it's a late game, but they're definitely more appealing now. Favorite Thunder value of Jerome Roby. Yeah, so Roby would probably play the backup 5. I would say whoever starts the 5 would probably be my preferred option for Thunder value. Anything like on Prize Picks? Yeah, I like the under on those Bucks guys. And the reason I do is I don't think that game stays competitive. So what I think you could do is like take a few of those Bucks guys, like especially Bobby Portis. I think he's at like 31. Giannis at 51. You have Drew Middleton in the mid-30s. I think you could like pair a couple of those guys unders with like maybe one of the guys on the Magic side and just hope that game turns into a blowout, because I really have a hard time seeing that game stay competitive when you have a basically fully healthy Bucks team going up against the Magic with like a G League roster besides Wendell Carter Jr. and Franz Wagner. Spend up for Shea or Butler? Yeah, it's a good question. I still think Jimmy is a little bit safer, but now with Giddey out, Shea becomes much more in play. Who do you think gets minutes with Ellington out besides Monk? Another good question. The Lakers rotation, I was talking about this in my Discord. You just never know what's going to happen, right? Like, I was like, Dwight Howard, one day he'll start and play 25 minutes. The next he'll get a DNP. So, LeBron and Westbrook are going to get their, 38 to 40 minutes. You're going to have THT probably play, low to mid 30s minutes. I think Melo probably gets a couple extra minutes, and plays, around 30-ish. So, the main guys are going to play a decent amount. I think Monk plays a decent amount. And then besides that, you might see like Dwight and Jordan kind of get some of the 5 run. I do think Stanley Johnson probably get some minutes. He played 27 minutes last game. He's not the best point per minute guy. Avery Bradley probably picks up a couple of those minutes as well. So it's not one of those situations where I'm like, oh my God, I have to go jam in these guys. They do have Darren Collison now on this roster too. Maybe he picks up some minutes. But it's not one where like I'm super excited to go jam in some Lakers value. Butler or Bron? Yeah, good question. If you have the salary, I prefer LeBron James. But I do think both are pretty good options, right? You have Jimmy with a relatively shorthanded Miami team. No Bam, no Lowry. He's had to do a lot on the offensive end. We know he's a guy that can fill it up in a lot of different ways. He shot 5-14 last game, still went for 44 fantasy points. So I like Jimmy. I just think if you have the salary, LeBron looks a little bit better. Like the matchup a little bit better for him, but both look good. Nas Reed if he plays. Yeah, I like Nas if he plays. That's one we'll keep an eye on. Again, he's questionable, so we'll see. Final lineup, I like, but 3.1K for Mo Wagner or Tice viable. I'm not 100% sure Daniel Tice plays, so I would rather go to Wagner of those two. Kemba Walker, Beasley, Middleton, King James, Knight, Rubio, Hampton, and Watanabe. My only issue there is Middleton. He's still priced up from when Giannis and guys are out. So, and plus I'm not very confident this game stays competitive. So he's the one guy I'm not super high on. GPP spend ups. Yeah, good question. So Steph's always a guy that I like for GPPs because the floor is low. Ceiling, he can go for 60, 70, but a decent amount of the time he will not get value. So he's always someone I like for tournaments. I think Westbrook makes for a good GBP play as well because I think everyone's going to go to LeBron. So ownership should be low on Westbrook. Now, again, LeBron's the much safer option, the guy I feel way more confident in. But I do think the ownership is going to be like really high on LeBron and really low on Westbrook. So those two guys I think make for a decent contrarian plays. Gafford, I like Gafford. Yeah, no Montrezl Harrell. So we haven't really, I think this is the first game Montrezl Harrell has missed. We've seen a couple games where Gafford has missed and Harrell had played like mid 30s minutes. So like the question is, are we going to get like 35 minutes from Gafford? I'm not 100% sure. But if we do, I think he makes for a great play because he's a good point per minute guy, great shot blocker. Yurt 7 is not the best in the defensive end. So like if Gafford can stay out of foul trouble here, he could smash at this price. And then even on the opposite side, right, you have Yurt 7 on a pretty thin front court that is a good point per minute guy too. So I think both those centers look good. Yeah. Forward under 4.7. Let's take a look there. 4.7 and forward. Let's see. A lot of guys out in this range. Let's see. Whew. I don't know if there's anything that really stands out to me. I mean, I think it's JTA if he starts for Draymond or Herbert Jones. There's not much in that range. Rubio looks good with Garland out. He'll do a lot more of the playmaking. I think he plays mid-30s minutes. Knight, Yurt, 7, Gafford, how you rank them. Depends on Naz Reid. So if Naz Reid is out, I think Knight probably looks the best point per dollar just because he's the cheapest of the bunch. But, like, it would be really close, right? Assuming all three of those guys play, like, mid-30s minutes, I think they all look great. So the question here is, like, do you want to go double value at center? Do you want to spend up maybe one of your spots for the center spot? Opportunity cost is high because there's a lot of good plays at the center position. Skywalker, what's up, man? Siakam, my only downside of Siakam is what I just said, right? He's only center eligible for some reason. So, yes, he's going to have to do a lot for Toronto with them being thin, but I'm not a big fan that he's only center eligible. Knight again. Yeah, we just had to keep an eye on Naz Reid, right? So, like, if Naz Reid starts, then I would think Nathan Knight moves back to the bench. I would think. So, what was the last game Naz Reid played? Naz Reid played 36 minutes against Utah. That was when Cat was out. So, and Nathan Knight just played, like, the backup 5. I think he played, he played 15 minutes. So, it really depends on Naz Reid news for whether or not I'm going to go to Nathan Knight. Wood, same thing, right? I think he's in a good spot against the Lakers, and the ownership will be low. But opportunity cost is high of going to a guy like Christian Wood when you have a lot of good value centers, when you have Jokic there at the top. Kemba going off again. I like Kemba. The only downside is you have Quickly back. You have RJ Barrett in a second game back. So I'm not sure if Kemba continues to play 40-plus minutes. I would think they go down a bit. But, yeah, hard to deny what he's been doing. Otto or Yurt 7? Yurt 7. LeBron or Giannis? LeBron. I'm more confident the game stays competitive. Just so I'm clear, single entry is considered cash or tournaments. Single entry GBP, it depends, because there's single entry like 50-50s and double ups, and there's also single entry tournaments. So if it's a single entry tournament, it's GBP. Any interest in LeBron? I think LeBron looks good, yeah. You remember when Kemba was cheap and I called that 50 tonight? Aaron Wiggins thoughts? I'm probably not going to do it. He's just not a productive player when he's on the court. He's pretty score independent. I do think he's going to see more minutes. But like he's got to hit his shots to get value. So if he is someone that is going to get ownership because of that last game, I'm fine fading. Like, you remember that game? Was it here against you? I forget which game it was. Maybe, I don't remember. But it was when everyone for Oklahoma City was out, and like Aaron Wiggins got a lot of ownership. He played like 30 minutes and went for like 12 fantasy points. So it's kind of like the Christopher situation last night. If Christopher got like 40% ownership. If Aaron Wiggins is going to get a lot of ownership, that's one where there's just endless amounts of value. I'm perfectly fine going somewhere else. So many good center plays. Are you spending up for Jokic? I'm not sure yet, but I do think, again, you got to make some tough calls at center. Omer, Gafford, yeah, it's a good question. I think it's basically a coin flip right now because I think both get big minutes, assuming they stay out of foul trouble. Dotson, Porter Jr. Otto Porter Jr., yeah, so with Wiggins back, he doesn't look as good. There's a chance he moves back to the bench, and maybe they start JTA. There's also a chance maybe he starts the 4, so we'll see. If he starts, I feel a little bit more comfortable with his minutes. Why does Josh Hart still not get a ton of respect around the industry? He crushes every night. I'm not sure. I mean, I've been pretty high on Josh Hart the last couple of weeks. He's been doing a ton. If he plays tonight, I like him. I do. Nathan Knight tonight again. Yeah, we just got to keep an eye on Naz Reid. Naz Reid's the big one. If Reid's in, McDaniels and Knight's still viable. Knight would probably become out of place. Like, unless they start Nathan Knight. If Naz Reid plays and they're like, oh, Nathan Knight played really well, let's start Nathan Knight again, then I'm fine going to Nathan Knight. But if Naz Reid plays and moves Nathan Knight to the bench, that's where I'm probably off. Yes, so like for me, I don't think that game stays competitive. So I kind of like the under on those Bucks guys. Now, if the Magic can somehow keep the game close, then I'm in trouble. But I have a hard time seeing the Magic keep the game close. Yeah, I mean, Jokic looks like a great spend up, right? Forward under 3.6. I'll say David Nwaba. Any need to take a risk on Trent? Gary Trent, I'm guessing that we're talking about. I think Gary Trent's a solid option. He is probable, right? So, like, you got to look at this lineup and, like, they're thin. No Van Fleet, no Barnes, no OG. So, like, you're going to see a lot of usage for guys like Siakam and Gary Trent. In the mid-range, I think he's a decent option. Only downside is he is kind of score independent, but we might see a game where Gary Trent shoots the ball 20-plus times. So, like, yeah, good question. I think I would feel a little bit more comfortable with Hero. We'll see what Miami does in the starting lineup, too. Happy holidays. Yeah, happy holidays to you as well. Any advice on Milwaukee versus Orlando Showdown game on vacation? My cousin got us free tickets to the game. Good question. If, like, I would probably go Giannis captain, and then probably still try to get to at least one more of these stars. Even if the game blows out, like in 3 quarters, they can definitely get there. I think, a guy like RJ Hampton, probably my favorite value in the Magic side. If the game blows out, I think he gets more runs. So tough one for the Showdown sake because there's massive blow risk there. McDaniels or Otto? Small lean to McDaniels right now. I'm a little more comfortable with his minutes. Williams, Jokic, LeBron, RJ Hampton, Love as core plays. Yeah, if Kenrich Williams starts, I think that's totally fine. Which Rockets guard is going off tonight? It's tough because I haven't seen anything on a limit for those Rockets guards. Where are the Rockets? So you do have both KPJ and Jalen Green in. The prices don't really stand out, so they're more risky plays. I think RJ Hampton's a good value. He's really cheap. I think, the Magic are thin, so I think RJ looks good. Whether he starts or not. Beasley, 425 shooting. Well, hey, the positive with Malik Beasley is he's probably going to shoot 20-plus times again. The downside is kind of what we saw last night, where if he's not hitting shots, there's still a chance he can fail. But his price did come down, and really the only other guy back right now is Beverly, who's not a guy they're going to be like, oh, give the ball to Pat Beverly, go score the ball. Pat Beverly is kind of a do-it-all guy. Like, Beasley should still be probably their top option in offense. Yeah, I do like Hero. What's the appeal on Nwaba? Most likely starts for Houston, right? Because no Jayshawn Tate. Unless they start KPJ, Gordon, Green, Wood. I still think he would start. Like, they just don't have many options. Like, if you look at this Houston roster, it's like, okay, who is a guy that's going to guard LeBron, right? Christian Wood's not going to guard LeBron. These guards are not going to guard LeBron. So you look at it, and it's like, David Nwaba, probably one of their only options. He only played 24 minutes last game, but that was because the game was a massive blowout. If that game would have stayed competitive, he probably would be pushing for 30 minutes. So, again, looking at the roster and looking at who they have, it's like, they don't have many options. So I think that is the appeal. Plus, you have a good matchup. Hero over Trent. I think I feel a little bit more comfortable with Hero because he's a guy that can do it in a couple different ways, whereas like Trent is a little more scoring dependent. Don't see about Garrett Temple. I agree. I think those Pelicans value guys, especially if there's no Josh Hart, look a lot better. Guys, if you're just coming in, make sure to hit that like button. We're over 100 viewers. We're at 27 likes. So if you do enjoy these free live streams, again, easiest way to support me. Plus, subscribe as well. Temple Beasley, Butler, Otto, Knight, Walker, Hart, Siakam. So yeah, just had to keep an eye on a couple things there, like with Nathan Knight, Naz Reid status, with Otto Porter Jr., whether or not he starts. You got to make sure Josh Hart plays. Yeah, so like I want to see what the Thunder do this starting lineup, but I wouldn't play Jerome unless he starts. So with Hampton and Temple, I think both look pretty good. We'll just keep an eye on Josh Hart news there. So I do like Hampton. I do like Temple. You like Gravett now that he's starting again? Do we have the Magic starters? I think if he is starting, I think he's a decent value play. Because he's one where it's like, if the game blows out, he might still get some solid run. Yeah, so they're starting him at the point with Harris, Franz, Carter, Lopez. So I'm fine going to Gravett. He's a guy that, has been playing relatively well for them. I just think I have a small lean to RJ Hampton at his price point off the bench. Siakam and Trent. I don't mind that. Yeah. I mean, Toronto's thin, and those two, assuming no limitations, probably play 40 minutes. Thoughts on Caleb Martin? Yeah, another good question. The Heat are relatively thin. Like Caleb Martin, first game back, did play 29 minutes. So I think he's a decent contrarian value play. With no Lowry and no Bam Adebayo. Lopez starting good play. He is fine. He's fine. The only issue is there's so many good center plays. Dax Hill, COVID from Mexico. Did he get COVID? I have not been following that. That's not the best. Not great. Thanks for the showdown advice. And by the way, I won $200 in Yahoo last night thanks to your Patreon and would have placed first if I played Nasir Little. Hey, man, that's really good to hear. Congrats. Lopez a good play. Again, he's fine. My issue is there's so many good center plays, and if the game blows out, like Lopez is the first guy getting pulled, right? Guy like Lopez he's definitely in his 30s, I'm pretty sure. He's probably the first guy that gets pulled. I think Gravitt's fine. I probably prefer Hampton. Thoughts on Looney? Same thing. Viable. I do think he plays a ton of minutes. More of a showdown play for me. I like Looney on the showdown. On the main slate, I think there's other centers I like more. Any Rubio love? I do like Rubio. Do you like Shea? Under 46 on prize picks. I think it's about right. With Giddey out, he's going to handle the ball a lot more, which does raise his floor ceiling. Thoughts on Mike Muscala? If he starts, again, fine contrarian play, but there's so many good center plays. Do you like Halliburton? A little bit too pricey for me with Fox back. Appreciate all you do. Let's crush. Hey, man, appreciate you. Rubio, Kemba, Love, Beasley, or Graham? Rubio. I'm going to stack the Hornets-Pacers game tomorrow because I'm going to be there. Well, first of all, enjoy the game. Second, that's like a really good game to stack. You have two teams that play fast and not a lot of defense, especially the Hornets. So I think that's totally fine to stack that game tomorrow. We have Boucher even on power forward and FanDuel. No, I think Boucher is still playable. He doesn't look as good with Gary Trent and Siakam there, but like Boucher is still productive when he's on the court. So I'm still fine playing Chris Boucher. Okoro and Kevin Love. So, do we have news of Okoro? Is he for sure in? He's still questionable. Kevin Love, keep an eye on the status of Mobley. Right, that's going to be pretty big. If Mobley plays or not. If Mobley misses, you might see a game where Kevin Love has to play like close to 30 minutes. So, just keep an eye on that news. I have not looked on FanDuel. So I'm not sure of the prices, but you have Jokic at the top and you have all the value centers, which you talked about at the bottom. So, Seth Curry doesn't really stand out to me at his price. I'm not saying he cannot get value, but like he's score independent and his price is up a bit. So I am not, very high on Seth Curry today. Love 7K and FanDuel never. Well, if there's no Mobley, they don't have a lot of options in the front court. So, and it's a pretty good matchup against the Pelicans. Orlando always first. Orlando is always first. That's good, right? Orlando's a team that we always know that news. Greg Monroe, again, a fine contrarian center play, but only really playable if Naz Reid is out. If Naz Reid is in, I'm not sure if Greg Monroe plays. Now the positive with Moose is he's gonna be super productive when he's on the court. But you have Knight at $1,000 cheaper. So, I think the only way he is playable is if you're building a really chalky lineup and if Naz Reid is out and you want to get leverage to a pretty popular Nathan Knight, then I could see going to Greg Monroe. But, yeah. You don't like Embiid? His price is way up. He should be able to smash. I have a lean to Jokic at a similar price point. I think Jokic is a higher floor. But Embiid has been playing well. So I'm not going to say no. I think he's just more of a contrarian play. Thoughts on Utah? Secondary option with Gary Trent and Pascal Siakam back. Still think he's a guy that plays pretty decent minutes, but doesn't look as good with Raptors getting a little more healthy. I agree. Naz Reid having that power forward eligibility is nice because then you could play three centers if Naz Reid to end up playing. Gary Payton bad play does not stand out to me. I think he still starts because Jordan Poole is still out, but he's at a price where it feels about right. I think if he starts, he plays about 30 minutes, but you also have Iguodala back. You do have Wiggins back, so it's two more bodies in this rotation for Golden State. So Minutes, a little bit more in question. Lauri Markkanen, if there's no Mobley, I think he's playable. If Mobley's in, I'm going to stay away because he's been pretty disappointing. Mentioned it, but what are your thoughts on Aaron Wiggins and Ken Williams? So Wiggins is one I'm probably not going to go to. Aaron Wiggins, that is. Pretty reliant on the scoring, and I would feel more comfortable in a guy like Ken Williams, who doesn't really have to score the ball to get there. He's a guy that can contribute in a lot of different ways. So I would feel better about Kenrich than Wiggins. Thoughts on Denzel Valentine? Yeah, so like if Denzel starts, I think he's a pretty decent value play. There's no Darius Garland. He's been playing mid-20s minutes already, so keep an eye on that starting lineup and keep an eye on Mobley news because if Denzel starts, I think he's a pretty solid value. Large field build, thoughts, grab it, Hampton, Butler, James, Knight, Temple, Nwaba, Jokic, Tuchaki. I think it's fine. Yeah, I have no issues with it. Kevin Porter projected minutes or thoughts on him. I need to see more news. He's been out for a while, so I'm not sure if he comes back and all of a sudden plays like 35-ish minutes like he had been. So I think they take, like, he hasn't played since 12-3. So I would think he's on a limit of like mid-20s minutes, and at this price point, no real interest. All right, guys. I can stay on for a couple extra minutes. So any other questions, make sure to leave them in the chat. Again, appreciate you guys coming to check out the live stream as always. Just make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you do enjoy these free streams. Portis, Drew, Milton stack. I think that game does not stay competitive. So I'm not really on the secondary options there for Milwaukee. Thoughts on Noel, Hampton, Butler, James, Knight, McLaughlin, Nwaba. So I don't know if I play Noel and McLaughlin together with Patrick Beverley back, just because the minutes are a little more in question for the point guards, right? Because those three play the same position. Nwaba, McLaughlin, and Pat Beverley are all point guards. So I don't know if I play those two guys together. You're the man, DK. Hey, man, thank you. You like the under? Yeah, I do, because I think they probably only play 3 quarters. Now, they're going to be productive when they're on the court because Orlando is not a good defensive team. But in 3 quarters, I don't think they reach those marks. Back to the well with Banton so he doesn't troll us. I just don't understand how he played the least out of anyone in that game. That still just blows my mind how your rookie point guard plays the least. If he starts again, then I think he's solid. But not a good sign that he only played like 23, 24 minutes. That does worry me a bit. Dawson Shea, Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he's a decent contrarian spot up. Does look better with Giddey out. Appreciate the stream, brother. Thanks, man. What team would you stack? What team would I stack? So, like, if I was to stack a team or a game? I don't know. I'm just looking at the teams. If there's well, I'll say this. Minnesota is probably the team. If I had to, like, stack a team, it would be Minnesota. I'm going to play a couple Heat players with Washington guys. Would you run it back with... Oh, now you're going to play a couple Heat guys. Which Washington guys would you run it back with? Yeah, so Gafford right now is my favorite option. If Brad Beal plays, there's not much else I'm interested in. If Brad Beal misses, then Dinwiddie's a guy that I think looks pretty good. Because I think Dinwiddie plays mid-30s minutes and would kind of lead that offense. Any last-minute questions, guys? If not, again, as always, just keep an eye on news. You know, most likely we'll get more players ruled out and maybe a couple extra players ruled in after this live stream ends. So you got to be willing to make changes. And yeah, hopefully we have another solid night of NBA DFS. Do you like Knight again and Graham top scorer without Ingram? Yeah. So Nathan Knight's status Nathan Knight for me depends on Naz Reid. So that's one you have to keep an eye on. And without Ingram, Josh Hart status is pretty important there. If Josh Hart is out, it's going to be Devontae Graham and Jonas Valanciunas really leading this offense. If Josh Hart is in, I think he's probably their go-to guy with Ingram out. But all right, guys, I will call it on that. So again, I really appreciate you guys coming to check out the live stream. Good luck tonight. Hopefully we see some big winners. And